Today we're going to talk about inventory health at Netstock. We are an ISV for Acumatica on the FBA program, and um, we look at very specific problems when it comes to inventory to enhance the ERP functionality in Acumatica. I'm going to start my presentation. Firstly, going to chat a little bit about who we are as a business, the contributing factors to bad inventory health, and why your inventory could be in a bad state, or most people's inventory are in a bad state. I'll spend some time in the actual product just so that you could see the kind of UI and how purpose-built it is for planning and where it might assist you in your business. There's a short quiz that you can take to assess your inventory health. You'll get some results back from us on that. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. If there are any questions, as Adrian said, please post them, and I'll try and deal with them at the end of the presentation as best I can. All right, so let's get going. To start off with a little bit about Netstock and who we are as a business. As Adrian was saying, we are a business that is focused on inventory planning through the supply chain. We have a suite of products we call predictive planning solutions. And within that suite of products, we look at things like inventory optimization, and that would really be driving the health of your inventory, trying to find the right balance in your inventory, making sure you don't have too much or too little. Replenishment and distribution planning to make sure that the items are coming in at the right time and are being replenished, let's say, through a distribution channel to the right locations, the right amounts to the right locations. A lot of performance analysis on those things so that we can always see how we're improving the health of the inventory. And then we can also get into more mature inventory planning with sales and operations planning. There is additional modules for forecast and demand planning. And we can even get into manufacturing, even go as far as capacity planning if that's required. We really are built to assist small and medium-sized businesses, from small businesses that are starting off on spreadsheets and moving onto a planning application like this, right up to enterprise businesses that have planning teams that are spending a lot of time analyzing, forecasting, and inputting financial targets and planning into the application. So we really are there to help customers and grow with customers on their inventory planning journey. So that's really what we do, and our drive is always to help the small and medium-sized businesses compete in the market with the likes of the Amazons of the world that have a lot of money invested in analytics, and be able to give smaller businesses the type of functionality that they have to better compete in their market. And our byline really makes smart supply chain planning decisions with Netstock. All right. So what are the contributing factors to bad inventory, and why are we sitting with these unbalanced inventory levels? There are many factors that are affecting the health of the inventory, but it really comes down to supply chain disruption. And we have a lot of that going on. We have even before COVID, pre-COVID, but post-COVID specifically, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better from the things that we've seen, whether it's a geopolitical or pirates off the coast of Africa, Suez Canal, whatever it is. There's always something going on that's disrupting the supply chain. In the US specifically, things like labor shortages, the cost of holding inventory that's increased so much based on increased interest rates, inflation, all of those things that are affecting demand and supply and affecting the supply chain makes it really, really difficult to plan and to have healthy inventory levels. So what are customers struggling with? And we survey our customers to try and understand what the biggest pain points are for them at the moment. And these things change over the years, but the typical pain points stay the same. maybe how major those challenges are might change from year to year. As you can see, stockouts are always a big issue in the business. Obviously, if you're not selling the items, that's detrimental to the business. It affects the profit, it affects the turnover of the business. But we have found in the last, let's say, 2 years, that there's been quite a big increase in the focus on excess inventory and how much that's tying up in the business, specifically because the cost of carrying inventory has increased so much over the last couple of years. And then when it comes to spending time on ordering, most people are trying to do these calculations in a spreadsheet. Poor forecast accuracy would also fit into this, trying to calculate moving averages, trying to compare one year to the next, and trying to decide how much of an uplift there's going to be on items or groups of items, and making blanket decisions about items rather than being able to, at an item level, make very accurate forecasting decisions. In fact, we have a customer, Best Vinyl, that's an Acumatica customer, that went from spreadsheets where they were spending close to 8 hours in a day working through the spreadsheets to get to a point where they can place orders. They now place those orders in 30 seconds through Netstock, through the Netstock application, and one of our success stories that we did with Acumatica. So just to give you an idea, that's one of the major pain points in businesses, is putting all of this information and then making a really good decision on what to buy and when to buy to make sure that your inventory health is optimal. And that's the kind of thing that we're going to look at. So why is there a requirement for this when it comes to ERPs? Well, ERPs are really good, and Acumatica is really good at understanding or controlling the inventory, understanding where the inventory is, how much of it there is, what is inbound and what is outbound, and at a transactional level, understanding what is happening with the inventory. What ERPs are not good at doing is understanding what the health of that inventory is. So yes, I've got X amount on the shelf in this warehouse and so much on the shelf in that warehouse, but how much should I have in each of those warehouses? And what is the optimal amount of inventory that I should have in each of those warehouses? And that's really what Netstock is trying to achieve, is to understand what that inventory health should be and drive towards an optimized inventory level. Right, so what do you get with Netstock? Well, a powerful supply chain planning application that integrates with your ERP. It's very easy to use, and you'll see when I work through the application, it's very purpose-built, very visual, and it focuses on the biggest issues in the business so that you could be as effective as possible, as quickly as possible, like that 8 hours to 30 seconds to place an order. We're always driving to making decisions quicker, making better decisions quicker to get to that inventory health. We enhance the functionality of the ERP. We're not there to replace the ERP, and we depend very much on the information coming out of Acumatica to help you make better decisions in your planning. We have a learning academy, so we help train planners that are moving off those spreadsheets and right through to becoming qualified inventory specialists. They can even qualify as Netstock certified planners, and with that, the exceptional onboarding and customer support. So there's ongoing support of the application, there's in-app chats, there is even an AI assistant that I'll show you in the application that is constantly trying to help you make better decisions to get to those optimal inventory levels. And then also guaranteed data integrity, very important. We are ISO 27001 certified, security certified, to ensure that the data that is held, your data that is held on our servers, is as secure as it possibly can be. We understand how important that data is to you, and it's very important to us to keep that safe as well. So that's really what we offer as Netstock, in trying to assist you in getting to those optimal stock levels. So let's talk a little bit about the application itself. I'm going to spend some time in the application just showing you what it looks like. Hopefully that answers a lot of the questions, but as I said, if you feel that there are some questions that you want to answer at the end of the presentation, feel free to do that as well. Right, so here is the application. You'll see when you log into the application, the first thing that you'll notice is that we're constantly looking, as I said, at the health of the inventory. So the top three KPIs over here are talking about your stock holding and the health of that stock holding. You can see there's a benchmark where we started here at 10.8 million, and month by month, we're tracking that to see we're down to 8.7. There's been a 20% reduction in inventory, which is really great. We always want to see that inventory level being as low as possible or driving that inventory level downwards. But we have calculated that this business specifically could run at 5.4 million model stock. So we're still quite high in comparison to the target that we're trying to get to. And everything that we do in the application is driving towards this target that's been set for the business. So why are we not at the 5.4? Well, we've got 2,000 items that are in excess, and we're holding an additional $2.8 million worth of inventory, cash that we could release back into the business if we move that inventory, and we could invest elsewhere to make sure that it's optimized. But not only are we looking at the health of the inventory right now, we're looking at the future health of the inventory. So if there are purchase orders that we're assessing out of Acumatica, and we see that those purchase orders are surplus to requirements, that they're actually going to increase the excess inventory if they land, we're going to give you early warning on those and say, okay, well, we've got surplus orders over here that are going to add another 744 to the 2.8 million if they land. Can we do something about those 311 items to ensure that we're not increasing the excess in the future? So there's our little crystal ball into the future health of your inventory as well, to assist in driving down towards that model stock that we've inputted over there. At the bottom three KPIs are really looking about your availability, your stock availability, and your ability to sell and increase those the profitability and increase your turnover. You can see over there we started way low here at just under 80% availability of items. That has shot up quite significantly, and we're sitting at nearly 87% over there, so a 9% increase of availability. And that's amazing, thinking that we've dropped the inventory by 20% and increased availability by 9%. That's really what we're trying to do with this application. But we're still about 10% off where we want to be. And we need to drive up our availability to get to the targets that we've set for this business. So what's preventing us from getting to that 96%? Well, stock outs. We're stocked out of just over 1,000 items, and it's potentially costing us 700,000 in lost sales values over there. So what can we do to try and mitigate that risk? You can see the stockouts have reduced quite a bit. They're from 1.6 down to 700,000, but that's still preventing us from getting to that 96% that we're trying to reach. Okay. So they were highlighting stocked out items over there, critical items that we need to try and fix right now. But again, we're also going to look into the future. We're analyzing those purchase orders out of Acumatica, and we're looking at those purchase orders. If those lead times change, they stretch out, or perhaps the demand rises, and we see that even though you've got inventory right now and you've got some stock on order, there's going to be a window period where you're potentially going to stock out in the future before those orders arrive. We want to warn you about that as well. So 113 items that we are saying are potentially going to stock out in the future before those orders arrive. And can we do something about those? So constantly, as you see, when you come into the application, we're looking at the health, and we're looking at how we can increase the health of the inventory in your business. Okay. The next thing that we want to have a look at is in the health of your inventory is really your classification. So not all items are equal, as we know, and we want to make sure that we are investing in the items that are the healthy items or the more important items in the business and driving the business. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to automatically classify ABC based on value contribution in the business, so that we understand, and let's say this is 80% of the value contribution coming out of those 336 items over there. You can see the stock value, the model, and we can see all the information about that. Let's say the next 16% is sitting in B, and the last 4% of value contributions sitting in C. We then do the same thing with your unit sales to see high or fast moving items. 80% of my movement are coming out of these 320 items. Let's say 16% out of the medium, and the last 4% of my movement coming out of that low category over there. And then what we do is we intersect them in this 9-block matrix, and we can show you this visually. What it'll do is you can see where my ABC is coming across from left to right, high, medium, low is coming down from top to bottom. As they intersect, those are my bread and butter items of the business. Those are the items where the most demand is coming from, okay? And typically in this sort of like 80-20 rule, you can see the number of items in those areas. This is the product count that we're talking about, are very low, okay? Whereas there are a lot of products sitting over there in C, which are not as healthy. And obviously, we don't want to invest too much money in those items that are not making a lot of sales and they're not contributing much to the business, right? We want to rationalize out of that product range over there so that we can reduce the number of items over there and also reduce the inventory value and rather invest in these items over here. And the reason for that is that if I click on demand, you can see the demand is coming predominantly from those areas over there. And that's really where I want to invest. Okay. The way that we do that is the customers will set targets based on these over here. So we'll set a target fill rate, and you can see I've got high target fill rates over here, 98%, 96, 98. As we move down here, this is high value, slow moving items. I've only got a 90%. And then down here on very slow moving, very low value items, 90% fill rate over there. At the moment, if I look at the fill rate, I'm only achieving 87% over here, and I'm achieving 93% here. So we can see how skewed that is. We want to achieve higher fill rates in these areas that are more important to the business. And then as we move down towards the less important items, lower fill rates over there. And that's why we drive these target fill rates. Now, this is dynamic. So as items, move from one block to the next, we'll have different fill rates, different policies that will drive how we purchase those items to ensure that we get to the optimal level for every single one of those. Okay. And you'll see in the dashboards, again, those color codes follow the items around. So I can see in my stocked out items, there are my top 5 items of that 700,000. 63,000 is made up of just these top 5 items. I can be very effective if I just look at those top 5 items. We're always focusing on the items that have the biggest impact on the business. And we can see there's a lot of green items over there that I want to have a look at and make sure that I try and get those in. Over here with the excess and the surplus items, I'd be more worried about things like non-stock items and slow moving items like that red item. Try and run a fire sale on those items, rationalize that, whatever it is that we need to do to ensure that we release that cash back into the business and we go and invest it probably in those green items to make sure we have more of them when we need to sell. Okay, so that's how we're looking at the health of the inventory. I'm going to get into an item just to show you how we would calculate these optimal stock levels and what we would do with the information coming out of Acumatica. I'm going to go into a lot of detail, so I'm going to be pretty quick with this. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but there's a lot of detail on the screen. We can see over here on the left-hand side, you can see that there's information that we're pulling out of Acumatica, things like your cost and selling price, stock on hand units, so that we understand what that is. We're then going to calculate the model stock for that item. We're going to calculate the classification, and we also want to see where the item is coming from, who the supplier is that we're purchasing that from. All right. And any groupings that come out of Acumatica we can have here. We don't have any limit on groupings, and we can go and filter by any of those groupings for any of the reports that we do. Okay. All of the reports we can export into CSV or Excel, and we also have modules for report builders if you want to build your own reports as well. On the right-hand side of here, we can see the sales history. We're going to pull the sales history from Acumatica, and we're automatically going to create a forecast for every single item in every location. You can see there's a seasonal forecast that we've created over there, and that seasonal forecast will obviously be one of the things that impact how much stock I hold. In high seasons, I'm holding a lot more stock. In low seasons, we will reduce the stock based on the forecast demand into the future, and a whole bunch of other information about the item average forecasting, the age of the item, all the type of stuff that you might need to take into consideration. We automatically calculate for you. At the bottom over here, we want to calculate your safety stock days, which is your minimum stock level. And that will take into consideration the forecast, obviously, the target fill rate and replenishment cycle, which is driven by your classification. So AH has got very high target fill rates, and I want to purchase the items there every 30 days so that we know what the replenishment cycle is and how much we want to invest to ensure that we don't stock out of those items. Then we've got a lead time from the supplier, in this case, 45 days from the supplier. And then below that, you'll see that there's a lead time risk and a forecast risk. So we understand all of this disruption in supply chain, and we want to try and mitigate the risk of that disruption in the supply chain. Now, the way that we do that is we we look at the forecast variability and we look at the supply reliability. And we will calculate or dynamically move safety stock based on those two things. So whether they're delivered on time, whether they're delivered in full, and whether we're over forecasting or under forecasting might drive our safety stock levels as well. Over there, we've calculated 22 days worth of safety stock. That will then drive our min-max levels that we calculate automatically, lead time plus safety stock to get to my reorder point plus replenishment cycle to get to my order up to or maximum level, so that we know what the optimal levels or the healthy levels for this item is. We then compare that to your position at the moment. Out of Acumatica, we can see that there are some stock on hand. There's no overdue customer orders. There's some allocated stock, perhaps for repairs, because this is a spares business. Our available stock levels, inbound orders, 566 already on its way. So what is my net stock position, and how does that compare to my optimal stock levels? At this time, that 2,391 is over the reorder point, so there's no recommended order. But in fact, it's over the order up to a maximum as well. So this is actually surplus. Those 566 is 266 units surplus to requirements, going to create excess of 266. And we've planned that into the future. We can see the projection over here. That's our stock level at the moment. Our gray area over there is our optimal stock levels with our model stock midway between the cycle stock. And at the bottom over there, we've got our safety stock that'll buffer for any of the risks. So as we move forward, we can see that it'll reduce based on the forecast sales. We have orders increasing over there and arriving over there to increase. And we're going to be 266 above my maximum a lead time ahead from today. So we're going to be in excess over there, and we're going to sell through, and then eventually the orders that we will plan to place in the future to try and keep inside that optimal, healthy stock level that we've calculated for every single item. All right. And we can roll that up onto through distribution from warehouse location to DC, so that we understand what the future offtake will be on that DC. We can roll it through a bill of material, down if there's manufacturing, down through the bill of material to the raw material, so we can plan dependent demand of projected manufacturing runs for those items on the raw material to ensure that we have enough of the raw material to make sure that we can manufacture those items when required in time to either sell to customers or send through to the distribution network in a distribution. So planning right through the distribution network from the warehouse location through the DC, and we can do it through manufacturing all the way to the supplier to make sure that we have enough of those raw materials. All right, so that's how we calculated these things, and that's how we got to what you see on the dashboard here in the front. All right, I'm not going to get into too much more detail. The other important thing that I want to show you, and this is what I was talking about, the orders. The orders based on these calculations will automatically be created by supplier. You can see over there, I've got the suppliers listed one by one. Any of the items that come through and hit their reorder point will be on that order automatically. And the reason why this is so quick is because you can come in, you can pick the supplier that you're looking from. We already know everything that needs to be purchased from the supplier. We say create order. It'll then show us those 29 items with the recommended purchases, the last cost that it was bought at. We can make amendments over here, but it's got all the information we possibly need about these items. From here, we just hit the download button, and that will then push this order recommendation, once we're happy with it, back to Acumatica, so that we can then send that off to the supplier and order the items from supplier, or send it transfers through to the locations if we need to transfer items from DC to those locations, or even send through work orders for manufacturing if and when we need to manufacture those items as well. And that's really how we close the loop, from pulling the information, calculating the healthiest optimal stock levels for your items, highlighting where things are going wrong to try and make sure that we keep those healthy levels, and then also showing you from a inbound planning point of view what needs to be bought, what needs to be transferred, and what needs to be manufactured to make sure that we stay within the levels that have been set. One more thing that I wanted to show you before we go, and this is our first foray into AI, that is the Netstock Opportunity Engine. And what this does is it analyzes your information in Netstock and comes up with opportunities where you could make a big difference in the business. There's 20 opportunities that is brought up here, and we can just click on these. They'll come up one by one. It'll look at things like, where you have an item, where it's ordered from. Is it a potential stock out? Do you have this item in another location that perhaps you could transfer rather than to purchase? Or perhaps the purchase order is arriving too late and you're going to stock out, and it'll give you advice on perhaps we should try and expedite this order, or perhaps we should look at replacing, or whatever it is. It's sort of like a consultant that's looking at your information and interpreting this information and giving you ideas about what you can do to help you be more effective in planning in your business. And as I said, we can just move through this one by one. We can also train the AI what's been useful for us by user, so that it'll bring more of those opportunities that we're interested in to our attention. Okay, so that's the application. Let's go back to the presentation. Just wanted to stress with AI and the way that analytics are involved in businesses today, it's very important to be able to have this information to make better decisions, specifically about your planning and your inventory, because it is the most important part of your business. In an inventory business, is having the optimal stock levels and optimal ROI out of that inventory. All right. So here's the health quiz. You guys can scan the barcode here if you want to do our online health quiz, and you can reach out to Acurus. They will get hold of us. We're happy to discuss those results with you, or to get into a more in-depth demo of the application if you're interested. I can see we're almost on the half an hour. Bye.